Carter, it's great to have you here, and I look forward to working with you and have appreciated your insight and knowledge just in the brief testimony you've been able to make today. And Chairman Dempsey, it's always great to see you, and as we may not see you again, I just want to reiterate again how much I've appreciated your always candid, forthcoming testimony before this committee. And just to address briefly the issue of sequestration, I too share the view you have, Secretary Carter, that we have to deal with it across the board. As we know, how we defend our country does not exist in isolation. I come from a state that is heavily invested in education, and it is that educated community that leads so often on developing all the technologies that all the service chiefs have acknowledged are very important to how we move forward in defending our country as we remain very agile. So to protect our country as well as we want to, we have to invest in our minds as much as anything else. So it is all very much linked, and I appreciate your acknowledging of that. But 2 weeks ago, this committee had the chance to discuss the proposed AUMF against ISIL with General Austin and Secretary Warmoth. So I thank you both for your presence here today to continue that discussion. And at that hearing, I asked General Austin about the complexity of the challenges that the United States has to address to successfully confront ISIL. I liken it to a multidimensional chess game. And nowhere is that more apparent than in Tikrit, where recent news reports detail Iran's involvement in training and equipping Shia militias in support of the Iraqi government's efforts to retake that city. Iraq's engagement, I think, highlights the complexity of the challenge, rooted as it is in a highly complex region, and underscores the need for Congress to weigh in and think through the assistance that we are providing to the Iraqi government as well as other partners. So with that in mind, Secretary Carter, how does Iran's engagement with the Iraqi government and its military efforts, Iraqi government military efforts to confront ISIL, complicate our efforts to ensure a pluralistic order? As we know, it was the Maliki government's unwillingness to create an inclusive governing structure that created the opening for ISIL. So as the Iraqi government seeks out Iran's help and is receiving it, how do you see it complicating our efforts going forward? And then, General Dempsey, how does it complicate our military efforts?
It can complicate our efforts, and that's why we need to watch this very closely, because, as you say, it is sectarianism which brought the Iraqi security forces to the low point that led to their rout last summer in the first place. And we are supporting a government of Iraq that is multi-sectarian and that encompasses the entire country. That is our preference. And so our preference is that all operations to combat ISIL, which we obviously support, are conducted with the knowledge and authority of the Iraqi government, and we support them in doing that. When there are others who are conducting operations without the authority of the Iraqi government, that is the face of sectarianism rising again in Iraq. And
so are you
we're
saying,
very concerned about that.
So are you saying that what's happening in Tikrit is without the authority of the Iraqi government, independent of it?
No, but you're asking me, would I be concerned about purely sectarian military activity there? And I would be concerned about that. And I am concerned that the Iraqi government be controlling, and the Iraqi security forces be controlling and directing all military activity, excuse me, on Iraqi soil. And that's why the nature of some of the militia activities and so forth is so concerning to us.
General Dempsey.
In terms of how it complicates things militarily, you know, we're building the Iraqi security forces to contribute to inclusivity, and they are being the kind of internal media blitz by the popular mobilization forces has made them popular because they did succeed in pushing back on ISIL in and around Tikrit, although they're not having as much success as I think they initially reported. So we have the issue of trying to make sure the Iraqi security forces remain the force for stability in the future and not this mobilization force. And secondly, there's just an issue of deconflicting space, airspace, ground space, and decision space. And so, yeah, it does make it complicated.
Thank you. My time's up.
Thank you. Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for being here today. General Dempsey, your